Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Total Biscuit. Welcome once again to the IronSquid Wednesday show. And I'm joined once again by the masterful Mr. Diapollo.
Hello, how are you?
I'm still a bit sniffly, unfortunately. I'm trying to get over that as best I can. It's possibly a fungal growth. I'm not really sure. I'll have to have it checked.
You're an infested Terran. Either way, hopefully these games today, Total Biscuit, they are good enough to bring you out of that illness you have.
Yeah, I definitely hope so. There's no better way to wipe out illness than to watch some fantastic, explosive StarCraft action. So, Group A is what we've been watching for the past couple of shows, and we're currently now in this situation where we are getting a good idea of how the group is playing out, but there's still kind of everything to play for. There is one thing that we do know for certain, and that is that ToD is basically now out. There is no way beyond a player actually dropping out of the group for, say, health reasons that ToD could possibly go through.
Absolutely, and even though he is playing today, and maybe people are here to watch his games, it's more the fact that Rhett has to beat ToD rather than ToD accomplish anything within this game. Maybe he'll try and salvage a game or something, but that's going to be definitely an important game for Rhett, considering he is 1-1 within his group. And if you look at the game we're going to go into first is between Puma and MarineKingPrime. MarineKingPrime only playing a single game so far, and winning quite convincingly. Puma, though, is 1-1.
Yeah, that's the dangerous thing, isn't it? Because Puma is about to go up against two very tough opponents when it comes to TvT. MarineKingPrime, as we've seen the legendary conflict of MarineKingPrime when it comes to TvT, and Boxer, whose TvT is really, really good, and people should never forget that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, just looking at Group A, he's currently 2-0, which nobody would have predicted. And that is incredible, really. And he's high-flying at the top of this group, and he will be playing again next week, or next Sunday, should I say, or this Sunday, however you want to look at it. But it's going to be an interesting game, because Puma, right now, even though he's considered one of the most dangerous Terrans in the world, could very easily join ToD at the bottom of the ranks if he was to lose against MarineKingPrime here today.
Yeah, considering MarineKingPrime's current form, I would have to call this match in favor of MarineKing. He's looking so good at the minute. He's been a bit inconsistent in the past, but his results lately have just said they've spoken volumes as to his skill level. So I think Puma's going to have a really tough uphill battle here in a matchup that MarineKing is very comfortable in.
Absolutely, and you know, Puma's very good in Terran versus Terran. It's not his best matchup, but you could argue that MarineKingPrime's best matchup is actually against Terran. So we'll see how that will go down. And as we mentioned, in game number 2 here today, it will be going with LiquidRet versus FnaticRCToD, and this is once again a very important game, very similar to Puma. A very important game here for LiquidRet, as he is 1-1 within his group also.
Yes, very much so, and this is a tough group for him, certainly. He is easily I would say, the most promising foreigner in this group. I mean, we've seen ToD already, and while he was a bit of a hope, certainly, and he's been in Korea for a while, he fell pretty hard. Honestly, he got crushed, and that was really problematic for him. Rhett, on the other hand, has the potential to go all the way. We've seen his performances. I mean, he took down MVP in the MLG Winter Arena. That's incredibly impressive play versus Terran, and he's going up against more Terran players in this group. He's already gone up against Puma and won as well, so that's something to consider there. And then he's got to go up against MarineKingPrime, and is MKP a match for MVP? Well, yes, certainly, and we've seen that many times in the past. Can Rhett pull off a win against him? I don't know. It's tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, that's definitely going to be one of the best games. But I think Rhett's going to be just throwing the ball up in the air today, ready to serve on Sunday. And I think he should be looking for a comfortable victory here against ToD, and then looking to finish it next week, because he needs that win against MarineKingPrime next or this Sunday, however you want to say it. So very important games here today, right in the middle, at that halfway line of Group A.
Yeah, indeed. And it's a 5-man group, only top 2 go through. It is a brutal format, ladies and gentlemen, so no one is messing around here. And we will be going into the game very shortly, but we'd like to provide you with a reminder of what happened last time on IronSquid. So here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is what happened. That's what you missed. If you missed it, then shame on you.
Yeah, pretty crazy set of games there. But, you know, getting ready now for Puma versus MarineKingPrime. And these guys have met in the past, and it was a while ago. It was in June last year where they did play within the GSTL when Puma was a former member of TSL. And surprisingly for a lot of people maybe here today is Puma actually took that win in the GSTL there. So he has, you know, got head-to-head stats advantage over his opponent.
He does, but one has to consider just how rough and volatile the ocean of StarCraft 2 play is, even in Korea. We see players like Nesty and, of course, MVP fall down to Group A now, of course, Code A, in fact, and now back up to Code S status. Things get weird with StarCraft, and a couple of months is enough to change everything. So I have to wonder what's going to be going on between these two players in this matchup. And still, based on what Marine King has been doing lately, I've got to call this with an edge in favor of MarineKingPrime, but I don't expect it to be an easy win.
No, not at all. Not at all. It really does depend on the maps here too, because Puma is actually a player that prefers to use mech, compared to MarineKingPrime is a player who prefers to use Marines and maybe some tanks coming into it afterwards. So it will really help Puma if there is a defensive mech style of map. But on the other hand, if there's a nice open one, then that's going to really benefit MarineKingPrime, and it's definitely going to be an incredibly high level TvT, no doubt about that.
Absolutely, and quite frankly, I can't wait to get it started, so let's not dally any longer, ladies and gentlemen. You're currently watching the Wednesday show of IronSquid. This is show number 3, and we're about to kick off MarineKingPrime versus Puma. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our first game of IronSquid Show 3, and it's my pleasure to introduce the first contestant for this show. Hailing from South Korea, and of course the Team Prime. He's in the red trunks playing down to the southwest. It is MarineKingPrime versus his opponent up to the northeast of the Cloud Kingdom in the blue trunks, hailing from South Korea and Team Evil Geniuses. He is the one and only Puma.
And I really do think, as mentioned before, it will be a clash of styles here. Puma's always been known for his mech in TvT, and on the other hand, MarineKingPrime always uses Marines, so we'll see. And I feel that also Cloud Kingdom will help out the mech player a little bit more because of the ease between the natural to the third base. It's just a short walking distance where mech can just hop, skip, and jump a few tanks and get access to a 5th and 6th gas.
Yeah, that's very true, and we've got a little bit of a differentiation between these guys to start with. We've got MarineKing putting his supply depot very, very close to his CC, which is of course done to make sure that the SCV doesn't have to travel as far, and it gives him a slight timing advantage. It means he can also mine just a few more minerals.
Absolutely, and it looks like Puma just wants to go ahead and hide his build more than anything here. That there's the only reason here to wall off. And he will want to complete the wall off with the supply depot shortly. He's actually checking around with his SCV for locations that barracks could have been hidden in. Check the natural, he's checked the third base also. So we do see Puma being very safe to begin with so far.
You can hardly blame him. It is MarineKingPrime. He's not exactly known for playing straight up. He can certainly play straight up, but proxies with MarineKingPrime, hidden bases, all sorts of things. I remember the incidents of him just lifting off to the gold base straight at the start of the game. He'd be happy enough to do that.
Absolutely. MarineKingPrime not afraid of anything, really. But it looks like he's just going for a straight one barracks expansion, and Puma's doing the same thing, just going to hide his expansion though, so when and if we do see MarineKingPrime scout at all, it will be hidden, and it could look like him, anything, Cloak Banshees, Reactor Hellion, anything along these lines, but it's actually just going to be a very simple expansion here for Puma.
Yep, the mind games have begun in this particular game, and down goes Puma just to the natural here, once again checking around. He is rather paranoid, isn't he? Good lord. It just wouldn't surprise me if he came across 3 hidden CCs just in the corner here. It's just MarineKingPrime. Anything can happen.
Absolutely, and Puma's hidden an SCV inside the main base, which is an amazing little maneuver here, because he's going to be able to go in and see, oh, there's no extra barracks, oh, there's the double gas instead, so he knows exactly what his opponent is doing, and Puma so far hasn't decided to grab the gases yet, interestingly enough. I wonder, he actually throws down a bunker before anything, so that's 100 minerals taken away from the double gas, taken away from the double barracks as well, which means he's, again, just playing so safe.
Well, Marine King has been on a tear lately. You can hardly blame him. It's a formidable opponent to say the least. One could argue that Puma's already had his easier opponents, and now is very, very cautious because he is fighting for group survival against two very, very good TvTers.
Absolutely, and it looks like Pumas does throw down second and third barracks now instead. We'll want to get the first and second gas as well very shortly here. And in MarineKingPrime, he does get a factory with a reactor, so it looks like he can start. I don't think he's going to switch up for Hellions. It doesn't make that much sense, but it makes more sense for him just to produce a lot of Marines and tech straight up into a Medivac here. Maybe look to drop them somewhere, maybe even for an early Banshee.
Well, we'll see. They're both around the same time, so what's he going to go for it? There is the starport, as you mentioned. He is going to go for Hellions, so I'm intrigued. Possibly Hellion drop play coming in here with the starport directly to follow that up. Awesome kind of weird, funky 1-1-1. He's also mining from 3 of these refineries. Admittedly, he's only got 1 SCV in this one.
Yeah, that's interesting. So he's definitely looking to tech up here as he throws a tech lab down. He's already got, 250 gas, basically. And he's going to be even more. And there's that SCV from Puma goes in and sees everything.
Well, that's very useful information to have, isn't it? And Marine King can't be happy about revealing that, especially if he's going to go for some funky TvT build that relied on this kind of surprise. And, well, now Puma's thinking, well, this could get a little bit messy for me. A second factory is going down behind this, and it's not for a drop either. He's going down onto a tech lab with a Raven.
Yeah, the Raven is because he hasn't seen anything, not even if there's an expansion here. So that Raven is literally an anti-everything. His build is anti-everything. It's just good against everything, including Cloak Banshees. And now the Hellions are going to go down and see an expansion eventually, and it's going to be like, oh, okay, that's the build you've done. But with the second and third factory coming down, we're actually seeing role reversal here between these two guys, as we see MarineKingPrime playing mech and Puma going bio.
Well, that's intriguing, isn't it? I have to wonder how that's going to turn out. Marauders are coming out for Puma as well as the combat shield upgrade. Be going for Stim directly after that one, has to imagine. Engineering Bay also going down for Puma, looking to go for the upgrade heavy bio style. Certainly nothing wrong with that. And then now we see the starport switching over after getting that one Raven just to make sure, and then he can move on to producing Medivacs.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously very good against Cloak Banshee. The timing was perfect on and everything, but it also can save up energy for point defense drones against Marauders now as well. And Blue Flame has been researched. A scan lands down on everything of MarineKingPrime here. Beautiful scan there by Puma, and sees the 3 factories, sees now the reactor on the starport also. And meanwhile, we do see him just teching up. Very standard play here by Puma. Is even spreading Marines and Marauders out in the main base just in anticipation of any Blue Flame or regular Hellion drops.
Yeah, he's playing as safe as he possibly can against an opponent that's highly unpredictable, and Puma has been very active with his scouting, and it's certainly served him well. He knows it's got to be mech play. But what kind of mech play? Does he know that that's Blue Flame, or is he thinking is that Siege Tech, for instance? He doesn't know for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, eventually everything will be researched, but right now he doesn't know if that is Blue Flame. So even moving out with a handful of units right now as Puma could be dangerous. He's going to have to start to stretch himself out and spread himself out more in terms of he needs to expand faster, he needs to upgrade faster, because as a mech player that we're seeing from MarineKingPrime, he's going to be on a bit more defensive style aside from these Hellions, which do have Blue Flame, and Puma caught out of position here. Could lose everything on his natural if MarineKingPrime knew that there were no units there.
Yeah, certainly, and he doesn't, and he's not exactly being all that active with his scouting yet. He is going to figure it out as if this barracks actually floats over there. We've got an attack force coming across the map from Puma that's going to run into an awful lot of tanks, but they don't have siege tech yet. This will also reveal the Blue Flame as he goes in there. There we go, a Blue Flame has been revealed. Marauders are focusing fire the tanks down. This is absolutely fantastic play by Puma to start with. Already taking 2 tanks, looking to take a 3rd. The repairs come in to save it, and that was still a bit of a damaging attack there from Puma just to kill off the tank count.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, it's bad because he lost more resources than it actually killed, but at the same time he's playing against mech, which relies on heavy tank count. So that was actually kind of an equal trade there, but more, I'd even say, and go to the extent of that it was better for Puma than it was, because if you bring in the fact that Puma's expanded behind this, he's got a third base about to finish up. We also have double engineering base for double upgrades. He is stretching far, and he actually slowed his push down a little bit, because instead of 4 tanks now, there's 6.
Yep, and here it comes. So there's, sorry, only 4 tanks on the field.
I mean,
at the moment.
wrong way around, sorry.
There's some interesting math going on right here, but we've got a lot of fire, more to the point, coming in. A lot of Marauders in that group, which is very, very sensible, but Marauders don't kill Hellions that quickly, sadly, because they're not armored units, and the tanks now coming in to back this up. We can even see the point defense drone actually contributing to this. It can shoot down Marauder concussive shells. It does work, and now the push comes in from Marine King, and he's got the siege up. Oh my, that's going to be a lot of dead SCVs any moment now. This is looking really bad here for Puma, as he loses a ton of SCVs on his natural. He can't even throw it back. The Blue Flame Hellions remain alive.
Oh, wow. He just lost 30 SCVs in that little push. It's not even a little push, man. 30 SCVs is a big deal.
Yeah, definitely. Without question, at this stage of the game, the supply count is now heavily in favor of MarineKingPrime, looking to expand behind that. Puma is in a lot of trouble. There's even a good amount of air superiority on the field here for Marine King, which is fantastic. He's got 5 Vikings out, which means any attempt to bring medevacs out to support Puma will end in those medevacs being shot out of the sky very quickly, so they won't actually contribute to the fight at all. He could even transition out of this into pure Sky Terran if he wanted, if he had that kind of air superiority. He's not going to, though, because there's no reason for him to. He's adding on another factory. He's got this command center up. Things are looking great for Marine King, and Puma is certainly playing from behind.
Yeah, and now as MarineKingPrime takes the gases on this third base, that's when his tank production, and even though he's added on 1 factory, he could add on 3 more factories or something along those lines now, as the gas income will allow him to do so. But he's going for another push now, and the barracks scouts on the natural that there's not that many units there. It is in a good position, and he will be able to move forward once again, set up siege underneath that natural or just up that ramp by the destructible rocks, and that is a very narrow area for Puma to actually engage in, and this could be checkmate here.
It very well might be, especially with the Vikings in play, allowing some extra range here for these siege tanks. He's going to stagger the tank deployment just to make sure that he can't get flanked, and that's the biggest risk in this position, that Puma gets off one of his legendary flanking attacks, but there's no way MKP is going to allow it to happen. Another scan goes down. That's where the flanking force is, and Marine King already knows about it, so he is well deployed to receive that. He's going to try and knock down this barracks as well, just darting in and out with these Hellions. The flanking force comes around the side here, and that one Hellion is going to be the savior, because it's going to spot those coming in. The tanks get good salvos off already. The Hellions used to delay it. The Vikings landing down as well. Can Puma actually crush this? He comes in from both sides, and he knocks that push down very effectively, even though Marine King was ready for it.
Yeah, that was really nice there by Puma, coming in from different sides. The medevac count really allowed him, as you can see, it's 6 medevacs, allowed them units to heal up, and then to kind of soak a lot of damage, and then continue their assault. And now all of a sudden, tables have turned a little bit here, but not fully, as you can see, 2 extra command centers, 1 just finishing up, 1 extra added on now. Mules coming down on this third base, and that tank production, how many do we have out now? Only 5 tanks is not actually that many, still only on 4 factories. He definitely could be more than that.
Yeah, Puma looking to strike as well, and also Marine King doesn't really have any upgrades here either, which definitely isn't helping, because these bio units are heavily upgraded. Those Hellions just got ripped to shreds, and the Viking count is a lot lower than it was. Unfortunately, they were dropped on the ground to act as a deterrent, and weren't able to shoot medevacs out of the sky. So now we have this nasty mass of medevacs, which is very hard to get rid of, and as a result, Puma's army just won't die.
Absolutely, and Puma's really taking control of this game now. He's recovered and is starting to catch really back up. I mean, he's at 55 SCVs to 76. The economy is very much so in favor of MarineKingPrime, but he doesn't. He only has 4 factories, and I can't stress the importance of that. That's so low. At this stage of the game, he could be at double. And I'm really surprised that that is happening here. But at the same time, Puma now rapidly expanding, building a 4th command center. His upgrades are looking really, really nice now at 2-1, soon to be 3-2 as these do finish. And he looks like he may try to drop. Well, I don't think a drop would be the best decision, but if he could run in and snipe gas or command center and supply depots on this right side, that's really good harassment.
Yes, it would be. And we've got a lot of Hellions now rolling out against these Marauders, which is not a very good idea. The Marauders will start to pick things off, and supply depots getting picked off here as well as this push comes in. The tanks are not really deployed in the right position, but now the Viking count's really silly, so it's able to knock plenty of medevacs out of the sky. And if he does that, then he's going to soften this attack force up very nicely indeed. Another factory is being added on. The amount of minerals that Marine King is floating at the moment is kind of silly, and I feel that another reacted factory would make all the difference here, because it'd have a much larger Hellion count to soak up a lot of this damage, and that would just slaughter the Marine count. You'll notice the Marauder count is very, very heavy in Puma's composition, deliberately. You can't have a lot of Marines if your opponent has 20 Blue Flame Hellions.
Absolutely, and he is upgrading them as well, so they'll be at +2 vehicle weapons very shortly here. And what MarineKingPrime's looking at doing is just go 200 supply, and then look for a big push. And all he has to do now is defend against Puma, whose goal right now is to slow down in any way possible. Any form of little drop, any form of angles, like killing those supply depots as well. I wouldn't even be surprised. Well, actually, I was going to say maybe he could drop in the main, but MarineKingPrime very smartly on the left-hand side with 2 turrets on the natural, which will stop any drop there. And then he has the sensor tower on the right, so he's actually covered all angles very nicely.
And here comes the rollout. What a scary rollout. There's 19 tanks in that army, Apollo, and they're about to have +2. That's crazy. He's going to add 2 more as they very slowly make their way through the destructible rocks here and take control of this area. Xel'Naga Tower is currently in control of MarineKingPrime, and he's looking to take the high ground here as well. That force cannot stand against that many tanks, but in the meantime, here comes this flanking attack. 1 CC will be destroyed, but potentially, but it's actually going to go all the way in for the tanks, which is absolutely fine as well, because it's going to do a lot of damage here. But this push is looking nigh on unstoppable. It doesn't matter if the third goes down if Marine King gets the kill here.
Yeah, and Puma knows he can't fight it. It was really sloppy from MarineKingPrime not to have those tanks sieged up on the third base, but he won't make that mistake twice as he's starting to siege up the new tanks that come out, but Puma's going for it.
I don't think he can base trade this. I don't think he's got the firepower necessary to make that happen, especially with more and more tanks being deployed. He's now going to go and drop into the main here. Just a couple of deployed tanks would slow this up quite nicely. The base trade, though, I think is heavily in favor of MarineKingPrime, who's still got 18 tanks here. That's going to tear its way through the main.
Indeed, and Puma's killing everything now. That's everything gone for MarineKingPrime. He will only have his tanks out. But the thing is, we see Puma re-expanding, rebuilding everywhere. He has expansions on the left side. He actually has 3 additional barracks and can easily start Marauder production on them, as we see 5 at a time. He's only got 3 barracks, got a lot of money. I guess that's acceptable in this scenario. But at the same time, if an engagement comes head-to-head, no doubt about it, MarineKingPrime will win.
Yeah, and this is weird, isn't it? There are 5 SCVs currently on the map here for MarineKingPrime. I'm damned if I know where they are, but they are on the map, and he's got 2.5k banked up. Puma's now supply blocked, so he's not going to be producing anything anytime soon. These SCVs are about to get absolutely destroyed. The landed Vikings have been tearing their way through the third here. The 4th and 5th bases are currently not actually all that operational here for Puma. And then you can notice Puma's force has tore its way through the main. It's now working on the natural. There are CCs flying everywhere. There are 3 airborne command centers already.
And what MarineKingPrime is going to do here is just walk around the map killing everything, and anything that tries to float away, pick them off the Vikings. Very simple. But Puma has no way to kill air. That's the really tough thing for him. He has a decent ground force that is well upgraded, but it won't beat a head-to-head fight unless it gets bigger. But that's so much time that MarineKingPrime could just go around and kill everything.
Yeah, he's just going to knock it all down here, and there's very little left for Puma. The 5 SCVs are actually with the tank force as well. He could very easily just build a wall of plant. Well, just build a couple of CCs, planetary fortress, stuff like that once he gets his engineering bay back up. But both of these guys are currently supply blocked. Puma is continuing to actually build things, and this floating CC is going to find everything. And is he actually going to go for it? Puma's going to go for it up against that many siege tanks.
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like a good idea.
He was thinking about it because they were on siege, but as soon as they got sieged up, he's like, no, I can't do that. But at the same time, supply depots are now finishing up for Puma. Just has enough to build 3 more Marauders, but the rest are going to be supply blocked. And he's just trying to add on to his force because they are at 3-2 upgrades. The tanks are at 2-0, and if he catches everything on siege, he could actually win. No doubt about it. That's why he's still in the game. But we do have now MarineKingPrime setting up on this new expansion of his and leaving a majority of the tanks just spread across. And there's actually no angle here for Puma to go in.
Well, not really. Is there ever an angle to go up against 16 plus 2 siege tanks? Not exactly. Those things are incredibly crazy in terms of how much firepower they've got. I don't know where this is going to go, honestly. I still think Marine King's probably got it. He's about to burn this orbital command out in the corner here, which is kind of unfortunate, but he does have 2 more, so he's not overly concerned about that. He's also still got buildings randomly strewn across the map, which makes any kind of base race a little bit impossible for Puma to actually pull off. And now we're back into this stalemate where it's pretty much nothing but Medevac and pure Marauder versus tanks, and if the Marauders can get in close, then that'll be fine, but if you get a good spread of tanks, then that's not really a factor. And also, with that amount of Vikings, I would think a Medevac goes down one salvo will take a Medevac out of the air, and those Medevacs are difficult to replace here.
Absolutely, but the thing is, the worrying thing here from MarineKingPrime is, even though he's got money banked up, he just has he's got a really bad income because he's only mining minerals from 1. Scan does go down, which is brave from Puma considering he needs every little bit of money he can get. But he now realizes, okay, siege up on that 1 base, you can have that 1 base. But good luck trying to take another one, because as soon as you're on siege, I'm going to come in you. And now Puma has 3 command centers. He has 3 set of mules. He's going to be mining a lot more and having a better income here. So actually, as time goes on here, Puma's going to get stronger and stronger, and I feel that MarineKingPrime is now the one in trouble as he's just confined to this 1 area.
I feel that MarineKingPrime has an opportunity if he uses his Vikings correctly. And if he actually uses his Vikings to start harassing these bases, Puma can't defend them both. Yeah, there are no missile turrets down at the moment, and that seems to be the last thing on Puma's mind. But these Vikings could very easily harass these bases, going back and forth, killing SCVs. That would wear Puma down, and it would also force him into an attack situation. So I want to see that from MarineKingPrime here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very smart idea. We'll see if he does it. I mean, my first location would be top left, especially because he's seen it. But at the same time, it looks like, MarineKingPrime playing very cautious, doesn't want to lose them. But I'm still watching the Vikings if he actually going to move them. But like I said, the more this goes on, it's getting better and better for Puma. He actually has the SCV lead now. He has the better aim come across 3 bases, and his supply is taking the lead.
Yeah, Puma's also building 2 of the starports here, so either he's looking for, well, I would imagine he's just looking for air superiority, because if he gets air superiority, that's it, Marine King loses, because it's this Viking count that is keeping the tanks alive. If Banshees started to come in here and pick the tanks off, that would be devastating. So he needs to outproduce 11 Vikings, and if he does that, and if he knocks the Vikings out, then that's GG.
Yeah. So we'll see if he does decide to do that. We do have Vikings being made now. 3rd factory as well, with another tech lab coming down. I guess that'll be for the Cloak Banshees. That's pretty smart too. So, I mean, there's just so many options here for Puma, and MarineKingPrime moving around, sniping off a Medivac here and there. He's got to be careful though. He doesn't want to lose these to +3 Marines, but just there's so many options for Puma. Just on 3 base alone, he can do anything. And it looks like, as you said, Viking production is going to begin. And to topple 11 Vikings isn't even that hard at this rate of income.
Especially if you throw a Raven in there. If you can throw a Raven in there, that would be absolutely fantastic. So maybe that's what he wants to do with this tech lab here. Start with a Raven, and then he can go Banshees, at which point there is no answer for MarineKingPrime, because his Viking count is pretty much static. It's at 11. I still don't like the fact that Marine King has sat on these Vikings and not harassed with them. It seems like a wasted opportunity, and now it's becoming a bit uglier because the Viking production has started for Puma. There was this big window where he could have done damage, and he hasn't. And it's going to be a Banshee. He's not actually going to even bother with the Raven. He's going to go straight for Cloak Banshee here.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a limited amount of scans too. There's been 2 orbital commands, but one was in the air for so long that cooling down mules because he's confined to this small area, so he's not going to have any scans. And adding in Cloak Banshees in there as well, and he may actually add on a Raven afterwards, and that would really, I mean, he could have like 6 Vikings and a point defense drone and topple the 11 Vikings. So we'll see how this does go down. Now, MarineKingPrime has spread across the 2 bases now, but he's thin in terms of tanks. You know, they're not all clumped up in one area. So if Puma was to go with everything in one location and found that area, he could do a lot of damage.
Yeah, and he's able to pick off a couple more Hellions, which can now be replaced for MarineKingPrime. The income for both is pretty terrible, but it's slightly in favor of Puma at the moment. He's got more SCVs. Viking count still remains at 11, but it's now 5 for Puma, and it's going to be 9 very shortly. So this is the concern. And if, as I said, if the Viking count goes down, it's lights out. There's nothing Marine King can do.
Yeah, I really don't think he knows how many command centers are out there. Because I'm looking at Marine King's vision, he doesn't know about the one in the left or the bottom right. He only knows about the top left. So that's a little bit scary for MarineKingPrime, and I think he feels he's further ahead than he actually is. Yeah,
I think so. That's the only reason, as far as I'm concerned, as to what MarineKingPrime is doing. That's the only way to explain it.
Yeah, and it's a little bit sad. Another scan does go down on top of the Vikings and sees that some of them are hurt here for MarineKingPrime, and Puma's going to be very happy to move out now. I mean, his Vikings are healthier. They have the all green health bars all over the place. The Viking count now is about to overcome as these new Vikings do pop out, and now he's going to have the lead, and it's just a matter of time here, unfortunately, until MarineKingPrime is going to be forced out this game. Because once, as you said, that is toppled, there's 2 Banshees in here as well with Cloak. No scans available as he's using every single inch of energy on mules to increase his income. But this is going to be a little bit sad for MarineKingPrime's fans, I feel.
Yeah, I think so. He's played well in this game, but at this point, he is basically doomed. He's now rolling out, and this is kind of the only thing he can do, really, is to roll out and try and kill his opponent, and maybe, just maybe, he gets lucky, especially if he's got SCVs repairing those Vikings, and he's able to knock enough units out of the air so that he maintains air superiority, and then the Banshees don't work so well. But like I said, the Banshees are just going to kill everything. But now he's starting to finally roll out, and he's going to be able to kill the space in the corner, which is a good start, but Puma is everywhere else. That's the real problem. And in come the Vikings and the Banshees. Oh my, this is where things start to get really messy. Oh, and the initial salvo comes off for Puma as well. This could not have gone any worse here for Marine King. All of these tanks are now just going to die straight up. This CC has been denied, but there's about 6 more on the map.
Yeah, this is definitely a facepalm moment for MarineKingPrime's like, oh, I've got so many tanks, I'll kill you. Oh, wait, I don't have enough Vikings because you overproduced me. And now, oh my god, the tanks, I was going to say they could have got caught out of position there, but this is really looking good for Puma now, who's turned this game around. He actually should have lost this game, really, but managed to salvage it.
Yep, he really did, and that's quite impressive. And Miss Saltoid actually gets up. I'm not sure how that happened. And it's even going to knock a Banshee. Second Banshee. What? What? He lost all his Banshees. He actually let the missile turrets go up.
But the tanks are gone.
But it's yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't matter. But I just like, why would he let him do that? But it doesn't matter. There's the GG right there. Oh man, everything got crushed, which was fairly predictable, honestly. Without the Viking cover and trying to stay mobile with the tanks, those Marauders were just gonna come around and smash everything. And that's a weird start to the series.
It really was. I was like, well, I really do feel that MarineKingPrime had the better strategy. As we kind of talked about, I felt that mech would be strong on this map because it is easy to take. The rush distances and push distances are very short, and I think MarineKingPrime chose the right strategy and should have come out ahead there. But at the same time, you can't take anything away from Puma, who managed to force that base race scenario, who managed to get command centers all over the place and come back from that almost unwinnable situation.
Yeah, I'm not happy with MKP. I don't like to criticize players who are better than I'll be in a million years, but I'm not happy with what he didn't do with his Vikings. And he had almost a 10-minute window where he could have forced Puma out the game with Viking harassment, and he didn't do it. He would have also had more information about what his opponent was brewing in the background. But no, he sat there with it. You only need a couple of Vikings there to give you the visibility that your tanks require. You don't need 11, especially when you know your opponent has no air other than Medivacs. Sure, I get it, no problem. Shoot the Medivacs down, very effective. But Puma's not going to let you do that. He's not going to run into your tanks because you're not an idiot. So use your Vikings to harass And that would have stopped what Puma did there. And it's sad because, like you said, Puma should have lost that game. It was Marine Kings to win, and he did kind of throw it away there.
Yeah, and even a couple of, potluck Hellions as well. Once the tanks come up, the factories came up, he could have thrown a couple left and right, maybe looking for the SCVs, scouting and so on. Definitely a few areas there that MarineKingPrime should have done better on. Like, you can even go back to the roots and say, hey, you should have had those 4 tanks siege up on that 3rd base when that base race come in.
Yeah, mistakes were made, and a funky TvT to start off this series. I'm interested to see what the next one will be like. Hopefully it is not disappointing in comparison, because this was very interesting. We will find out after this short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second map of this series, and it's my pleasure to bring you MarineKingPrime, currently trailing 1 game in this best of 3. He is in the red trunks playing Terran to the east, versus his opponent, Evil Genius's Puma. An excellent comeback from him on Cloud Kingdom. He is in the blue trunks, also playing Terran to the west.
There's been a lot of cool comebacks in this tournament so far. There's been quite a few. I mean,
I like the comebacks.
Yeah, I mean, probably the one that everybody's going to remember is Boxer's game, of course.
Yeah. Well, Boxer just seems to do comebacks to a greater or lesser extent. He looks like he's on the ropes, and then he just comes back like a champ. The BoxerToD Game 3 was pretty legendary in terms of comebacks there. And in the case of Puma, well, it was, as you said, it was MarineKingPrime's game to win, and he did kind of throw it away a little bit there.
Absolutely, and it'll be interesting to see what happens and develops in game number 2 here. As Dual Sight is known for aggression because the distances between bases are rather short here. It's actually a small map. Even though there's a lot of bases to take, the distances between bases is very small. So we'll see if anybody does opt to do so, and because of this nature, it's actually a lot more difficult to get away with the standard 1 barracks expansion here, as there's so many viable options that aggression could knock that down to a lesser level than your own economy is to a certain extent.
Yeah, and Puma's going to take gas straight away here, so that's interesting to say the least, whereas Marine King will not. Now, with MKP, doesn't necessarily mean a 1 racks expand, gasless. It could actually mean multi-racks from him, but we'll see. We'll see what comes out from him.
So the SUV turns around weirdly. Wait a minute, what is he doing? Why is he... so I think we're going to be seeing a proxy factory here, or barracks. Here, this is interesting that he decides to do that. I mean, there's a couple of options. Barracks is a little bit weird, because even if MarineKingPrime does do 1 barracks expansion, he's usually fine to hold these kind of builds. But what would make more sense would be a proxy factory. It could be to lift off, put in the main and build Hellions, but more so, a lot of players do like to go for Banshees from here. So we'll see if Puma does decide that.
Yeah, perhaps wanting to just take the quick win in this series, 2-0, and there's the proxy factory, as you mentioned there, and that is, of course, hiding the tech, but a player of Marine King's caliber will know what's going on here, but I've got to know, if he's anything like the last game, he's not going to actively scout, and that might hurt him.
And there's the second gas as well here. So second gas been planted down. This is probably just going to be a cloak Banshee, a proxy. And the advantages of doing it here, of course, is that it goes straight into the main base really fast here. And disadvantage, of course, that everything's so far away. If this was somehow to get discovered, then that could almost be game ending. And the tech lab, of course, will have to stay on the ground as the factory and starport decides to fly home. But that's what it looks like. And MarineKingPrime deciding to go for 2 barracks this time before the refineries. So this time he will be a little bit more equipped to deal with this than he would have been in game number 1, as he did go straight for the refineries, straight into a factory. So he's just going to have a lot more Marines here.
Yeah, Puma's going to actively deny any scout that might come from Marine King by taking map control with these Marines here and pushing forward and maybe just poking a little bit, getting a little bit of info. There's nothing he could really do, considering he is up against 3 barracks and there's already 4 Marines out the top of the ramp. But more importantly, he holds the Zelnaga towers. He grabs both of those. Getting past that is very, very difficult to do. The proxy starport is about to finish, and we're going to go immediately into Banshee production here. He's also going to get a Hellion on the ground as well, because, well, hey, why not? You might as well. And look for serious economic damage. This kind of thing, it can be game-ending, but at this kind of level, usually it's just to do damage and try and get ahead of your opponent, and then you can crush him.
MarineKingPrime completely in the dark again, yet he is building an engineering bay, is getting combat shields, but before we do go into that, we do have this little push here, and the Hellion could do so much damage, but it gets picked off so early.
Yeah, that's very, very true. No problems there from Marine King to hold that. Well, he's got a lot of Marines, and actually Puma is in a bit of trouble here, because he's actually got nothing at his base at all. Bunker's only just started. Marine King actually just pushes here. He could do loads of damage, and that would be comical.
Yeah, that's funny actually. MarineKingPrime realizes what's going on now, understands that, okay, there's a Hellion down, that means you've teched up, you haven't gone for a similar build like me, this could be Cloak Banshee, and wouldn't even be surprised if he threw down turrets as well, just in anticipation. But yeah, this little counter push here is going to be quite funny.
This could actually just kill him right now. It could potentially just kill him. The SCV is coming off the line right now. Can he stop the building of the bunker? He does delay it, and is Marine King just going to win this with nothing but a couple of raw racks? I guess we're about to find out. SCV is coming in. In the meantime, these two Hellions going for this base here, and then I'd imagine the Banshee will go in, assuming he doesn't have to come back, but now he's finally being thrown back here, doing quite a lot of economic damage. Puma's actually down to 14 SCVs. Yeah,
this is actually, you know, that push is pretty good from MarineKingPrime, but at the same time, he's losing more SCVs than he actually dealt damage to with these Hellions here, too.
Oh,
and the Banshee!
He's so... it's on 2 HP.
The turret.
The missile turret, the missile turret! It's out of range. Oh, wow. So very tense here.
Wow, and he's actually killed 19 now, that is Puma. No, the second Banshee does walk in, doing a lot of damage here, but it looks like it will be okay. Remember, there is 2 command centers here from MarineKingPrime. Yeah. We'll be able to double build SCVs and mules compared to just the single
heroic
one.
Marine.
Wow.
He goes down to blaze of glory, the final bullet striking the cockpit, and down goes the Banshee. There are more Banshees coming out here, and of course, he must realize now this is proxy, and if I was him, I'd be going to look for it.
Yeah, I mean, he could go down. The problem with going to look for it is the Marines can't help defend. There's not turrets everywhere, but he is going to go, so he's taking a bit of a risk at the same time here, but he will be able to shut this down, and if he could pick off the factory, that's tech gone now, and including the starport too. He does leave a few Marines back to defend now, building another turret, and the Marines don't quite see the factory, unfortunately. It looks like they're going to stab out a little bit more once again, and this can be useful if Puma had expanded to the lower ground yet, but his expansion's so far behind.
Very much so, and that allows MarineKingPrime to come back from this very easily. His income is quite a lot higher, as you can see. Double mules makes all the difference. Double SCV production also makes all the difference. And that's going to give Marine King right here a bit of an idea of what's going on. The Banshee moves into the base again. The cloak energy is quite low, but he's going to pick off yet more SCVs. So already picked off 4, now 5 and 6. And it's pretty brutal to watch one way or the other, but Marine King can outproduce him again, even if he does lose this.
Yeah, that's actually, that Banshee's helped so much for Puma in this game, because it was really looking bad. But 25 SCVs now versus 14, killed 24 overall here for Puma, who does have a 2 lead, but with the mules, of course, that will be in favor of Marine King, especially spread across 2 bases compared to Puma on 1. And it's looking really good now. What Puma looks like he's doing now is transitioning to mech himself. This is another mech favored map, as it is again easy to take a 3rd base, or easier should I say. And it looks like role reversal here again, and we are going to have MarineKingPrime play Bio, and he's going to be doing exactly the same thing that we saw Puma do in the previous game, expanding faster, upgrading faster, and just overall spreading out, and we'll see who comes out ahead.
Well, if I were Marine King right now, it's probably a good idea, and indeed job that I'm not, I'd just attack him, because he's got nothing. But I have to wonder if Marine King really knows that.
Yeah, that's the question. He could be expecting, you know, siege tech to be made, and a single tank would deny pretty much everything. But I mean, there's Blue Flame Hellions now coming out, and this could be doing a lot of damage. And we do have the hidden command center in the top left here by Puma, knowing that he's behind, knowing that he has to take a gamble in terms of his income, and that's one way to do it. And if he can achieve and get this up and running with the extra gas, then his mech's going to be so much stronger than MarineKingPrime actually expects.
Yeah, very much so. And Marine King's now on 36 Marines, and it's also bringing Medivacs out now, so he can start a little bit of drop harassment here and there. Puma's starport is going home now, having really achieved its goal, and that starport is what kept Puma in this game. Marine King is still ahead, though. There's really no doubt about that, but will he stay ahead? If this 3rd gets established, I would say certainly not.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if this third base just stays alive for the game, that's it. That could be game ending. MarineKingPrime is working on 2-2 upgrades at the same time. He should be looking, in theory, to be expanding right now. As soon as he gets 400 minerals, should be right now. Otherwise, he will fall behind, even against standard 2 base mech. So we'll see if he does throw that down. If he doesn't, and just throws down more barracks, then he's just going to go for a kill, and he's not really looking to play long-term here. These Marines could actually get dropped into the main base here. There's nothing defending, no turrets, and that would actually be a very nice move.
Indeed, and he does. I don't believe he knows about the medevacs. He did move in there and got killed on the Xel'Naga, but the medevacs were quite far behind the force, so it is possible. But at the moment, he's just kind of patrolling, maybe even going to try and find that proxy, which, of course, is not a particularly good idea. There's just that tech lab there. There's nothing really there otherwise, but he does have full map control for the time being. And he's now going to start to menace this area here. These tanks do have tech, but they are undeployed at present.
Yeah, and this is looking really good for Puma, and these Marines will not be able to achieve anything. You know, nothing on the front, nothing in the main too. Hellions are so fast; they're like lings to dealing with drops. They can just get there and destroy anything that drops underneath. And a scan does go down, but. Oh no, SCV in the top left finally sees this expansion.
It was going to build there. It was going to build there, and now it's found what's going on. It steals a few minerals, and this engagement coming in here. There's just a big drop coming in. Hellions are really not very good against that. And he's just going to drop all the way into the main here with 4 medevacs worth of Marines. Goes straight for the tank, knocks it out immediately, but he is up against a lot of Blue Flame Hellions, so let's see what he can actually achieve here.
Yeah, that was really bad for Puma to be out of position there, but tanks do come up to clean this, and the top left base did not pay for itself as that gets taken down here.
Pop.
And now there's nothing, and Puma now set back a lot.
Yeah, he really is, I have to say. These Cloaked Banshees once again contributing a ton to the fight, but Marine King throwing away really little more than single medevac and a bunch of Marines, which can very easily replenish. He's now on 3 bases looking for 4, and this mobility is what I think is going to end up hurting Puma more so than anything. He's now stuck back on this base, and to be fair, it was really just chance that MarineKingPrime happened to fall upon that base up to the top, because he wanted to expand there too.
Yeah, and you know, he's taken full advantage, as I was saying in the previous game. In this one, you just have to spread your stuff out. So expand faster, upgrade faster, because Puma can't push you. He's playing mech. The only thing he can do is touch you with Blue Flame Hellions, and as long as you have Marauders and defensive units around, that's going to be fine. And we do see 2 Banshees denying the expansion in the top left, and Hellions running around as well. But if they find access to the 3rd base, they could do a lot of damage. They are still Cloak.
Yeah, that's very, very true. This base is cancelled, needless to say. They will probably now just go straight for the 3rd, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to have a look there. There is no missile turret down there, which was a crucial error from Marine King, but he is looking for the interception here. But Puma's far too smart for that, and he's got loads of... This is just a horrible area for Marine King to be standing in, because these Banshees just like, no, we can just attack from the top of this cliff. We don't care. Scan goes in, and it doesn't make a blame of a difference.
Hellions on the right-hand side are getting selected a couple of times here by Puma. Will he decide to run into the main or natural? That would be a very nice little maneuver here, but it is cut off, unfortunately, for him. And Puma just going to try and grab a 3rd base very shortly here, try to go for a push. But if he does go for a push, he enters the Marine King area, as there's just so many units, and he'll get surrounded so easily. So he's going to have to play this passively. Therefore, Marine King's just going to take this 4th base, knowing there's nothing to be preventing that.
Yeah, that's true. He's also just keeping an eye on those Cloaked Banshees, knowing, of course, the cloak will run out eventually, and then he'll be able to engage there. Also, with a little push through the center, trying to secure this area. He's got a nice mixed Marine tank and Marauder force now, and he'll be able to menace this 3rd base. Everything from Puma is coming down to defend it, leaving an awful lot of possibilities open for an attack on the natural.
Yeah, and this is where, as the bio player, as the Marine Marauder player, you have to throw away units, but I don't, like, not throw away, but to trade in efficiently just to wear the mech player down. Because once again, if the mech player does get to that certain point, as we saw in game number 1, where it's an unbeatable army, it really does become that. So he scans the 3rd base, sees, oh, are there all your tanks? And immediately swings round, looking to go hit that natural and potentially drop in the main here also.
But Puma's going to be able to redeploy quickly because he uses 2 sensor towers here to make this. But will he get there in time, more to the point? He's going to stim forward here. He's a little bit distracted engaging here. The tank's going to deploy behind that. The split is going to be really good here from MarineKingPrime. Can he smash his way through? He looks to do it. Oh, it's carnage on both sides here. The Marauders, however, are enough to punch their way through, and a couple of tanks to back them up as well.
Yeah, and there's that, trading, and that was more than worth it there for MarineKingPrime, considering he's taken every single expansion on the map, and this is looking so good. SCVs, Vikings being landed also.
Yep, and this will get thrown back, but it doesn't make that much of a difference because, as you said, it was designed to crack the nut, as it were, and that will keep his opponent in his base because he's got to rebuild that big mech force and then roll out with it. This tech lab's actually got information on this base here, and the Hellions going to prevent that from happening, but there are so many bases all over the map, and Marine King just doing the same thing that Puma did to him last game, and expanding everywhere, which puts Puma in a really awkward spot.
That's one awesome Hellion, denying both of those expansions from actually building and gets its way to the natural, and it's going to do even more damage. That's sick.
It's a baller, man. It's a baller. There's no real question about that. And finally, it will be stopped, but it gets 4 kills in the process, and as he said, double denial. Crazy stuff, man. It's a good Hellion, and I'm fairly sure that Puma will honor it in writings, perhaps poems. I don't know if Puma's much of a poet, but you know.
And there's even more, even more. And they killed SCVs at the top, left, and this base, and this is what could really bring Puma back into this series.
And this is why planetary fortresses are really, really nice. And of course, high-level Terrans don't like building them because orbital commands are so great. But sometimes, if you're going to get harassed like this, a planetary fortress is a nice thing to have. Puma's actually now got the SCV lead. 55 workers killed by Puma across this game, which is what he needs in order to get back in. Now the second attack comes in. There's nothing deployed at the natural whatsoever. And as a result, Marine King's going to have a little bit of fun. He's cut that army in half. He's got the Marauders there to tank a lot of damage. A couple of tanks deployed as well. In comes the Air Force, which is what Puma really has. But that Air Force is about to melt because it just landed on top of a bunch of Marauders. GG.
Yeah, 3 Marauders also. So they're pretty damn strong.
Don't mess with it. Don't mess with it. Well, that's a nice little reversal there for MarineKingPrime, who evens the series up 1 apiece. And Puma looked like there were a couple of times when he could have taken that game, but once the macro machine really got rolling for Marine King, not a chance.
Yeah, and that's, a lot of people do, debate which is better, mech or bio, and, we don't want to go into that now, but you can see the different styles in this game, in the previous one, how they play out, how the bio player should play, how the mech one should play as well, and that was a very nice display of how to play Marine Marauder, and really delaying the tanks against mech.
Yeah, it certainly worked out rather well, I've got to say, for MarineKingPrime. Puma falling down just a little bit in that series, and still a very nice display from him as well. Will he be able to pull it back with Game 3 and clinch that series, which he certainly does need, or will he give Marine King a really nice piece of momentum going into the rest of this group stage? We'll find out very shortly, folks. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Antigua Shipyard, which will be your venue for this final matchup in the best-of-3 series between MarineKingPrime, who is in the red trunks playing Terran to the north, versus his opponent, Evil Genius's Puma, in the blue trunks playing Terran to the south.
And I wonder what we're going to see in game number 3 now, because, of course, in game number 1, we had Puma play bio, and then we had in game number 2, him go for a crazy little proxy Stargate for the Cloak Banshees into mech. And game number 3, anything could happen here. Antigua Shipyard is nice for bio and mech, actually. I mean, there's nothing that it really does lean towards more. My personal preference here, once again, would be mech because of the ease access towards the third base. But at the same time, it is harder to defend, as there's, the distance between the natural and the third base back into the main. It's very easy for Marines and so on to get dropped in there, and it's actually hard for your tanks and the Hellions to come back to defend. So we'll see what this will unravel as.
Yes, we will. We've seen some curious decisions from both of these guys before, with MKP in the first game going for mech, which could have worked potentially, but ended up not doing so. And then we had Puma go for bio, and then a role reversal with a proxy starport being used on the second map. Things are getting a little bit weird, aren't they? Gas has been taken by Marine King and by Puma to kick us off here.
And they may actually be kind of countering what they think their opponent's going to do, because one barracks expansion is very common here, and a very good build against that would be Banshee openings, because you can pick off so many different SCVs, expand at the same time, and then catch up in terms of economy, if not overtake. So they both may be thinking, oh, if my opponent's going to do this, then I could go Cloak Banshees, and we may actually see Cloak Banshee versus Cloak Banshee from here, or some other form of tech, of course, since they have both taken gas.
Yes, Cloak Banshee versus Cloak Banshee is one of the lamest fights ever, because they both just kind of float there and don't really do anything. Tech Lab is coming down from Puma immediately, though, which does make me think not so much Cloak Banshee, but more maybe a Reaper Expand. Yeah,
Reaper Expand coming out here from Puma, and I do like this build as well. It allows for easy transitions over to Mech and Blue Flame, actually, and we are seeing the Reaper coming out. And on the other hand, we do just have the 100 gas saved up, and there is the factory down for Marine King, and we do say Marine at the back, 2 Marines actually here. So this Reaper is waypointed to go in at the back here where these 2 Marines are, and the 3rd one coming shortly. This may not go so well for that Reaper.
He knows, man, he knows. We have no idea how he knows, but he knows. And if this Reaper does go in at that location, he's going to be in quite a bit of trouble. In fact, he's probably going to die instantly, especially bearing in mind if he... I don't know, the angle probably means he'll have to hop up here first and then here, and he'll be dead before he can do anything. So this would be a perfect blind counter here by Marine King.
And the Reaper is... Which way is this guy going? So it's being manually controlled now, not just on a waypoint. Going in the back, of course, is the normal route to go in here. So it looks like this guy will get picked off if Puma doesn't react immediately.
Nah, it's not going to help. Yeah, 3 Marines against MarineKingPrime's control? No way. So the Reaper opening just flat out... Well, I don't know. What did it see? It actually did see the factory.
I mean, the factory with a tech lab.
It didn't see the starport, yeah.
Yeah, he will put pieces together and know that this is a Banshee opening, as there's no reason for the factory to be down there. And there's the lift up of the factory, and I suppose the Banshee will be coming next. But meanwhile, in Puma's base, now he knows this. He has gone for combat shields straight away. He's going to be able to go for an engineering bay as well, and tuck in a turret in his main and really start to play on the defensive side here. And we do see, again, 5 Marines coming out from the front. And what we actually could see is these 5 Marines, as well as a Banshee, just go for straight up damage to the natural. Because obviously with 5 Marines and a Banshee doing DPS, it's very difficult for Puma's Marines to actually target the Banshee down without taking considerable damage.
Very true, and we'll see if he decides to do that, because otherwise I would think this Banshee harassment will be safely shut down here by Puma. There is also this window where if he gets enough units together and actually goes for a push while the reactors are building, then reinforcing is extremely difficult. So that might be an option there too. The cloak is on its way though. We'll see if the Banshee decides to go in a little bit earlier. It's now been started for Marine King and is about to finish. He's also going to go for a tank as well.
Ooh, and Puma decides to throw a bunker on the natural and was like, no, I'm going to put it in the main instead. And that's a very, very smart decision here, knowing what this can be. And upon scanning and knowing what was in the main, sees the reactor and is like, oh, okay, this is what's coming now. Okay, I understand. And actually picks up now and leaves. So he understands that heavy pressure's coming with all the units on the ground instead. And MarineKingPrime goes up and is like, oh, wait, what? You lifted up and now builds a bunker on the lower ground himself.
Interesting. This will get denied by Puma, though. He's going to go right for it and easily clean that up without too much of a problem. And bunker has been cancelled. And now the Banshee's coming in from the side, and it finds a missile turret. And it's like, oh, really? That Reaper actually saw that? And it figured that out? Yes, it did. So it fulfilled its role here. And if Puma is able to catch the Banshee out, that would be awkward.
And I wonder if he's going to invest in siege tech. If he does, of course, that's really, really nice with this little push. But at the same time, does he really want to do that? Does he want to squeeze out another tank? And he does decide to throw siege tech down. So he's going to be able to camp right outside and even right below the command center on the natural if that siege tech does complete in time. But the problem is Stim is near completion. And with Stim, this can get shut down very, very easily.
Yeah, it can. The advantage here is that the Banshees are spotters effectively, and of course Cloak, that will help too, knocking out a couple of SCVs here and there, just trying to take out reactors, which is the best idea at this stage in order to try and slow down the reinforcements of Puma so that the killing blow can come in. And interestingly enough, Marine King actually decides to back off here.
Yeah, he's sending an SCV. He's gonna see. Is he gonna see? A scan goes down for Puma. He knows that Stim is done. He's going for a kill now, and MarineKingPrime's scared that Siege Tech isn't done, and it's still 10 seconds away. And the engineering bay is getting worked on now. If that +1 doesn't complete as well, that's really big.
It's not going to happen. The cloak has gone down on one Banshee. He's not going to risk them. He's going to back away now as well. So the +1 will complete in time. The Siege Tech is done. So what we have here is basically a 1-1-1 build being used against the master of the 1-1-1. Will it work? We're about to find out.
Yeah, we will, and I have a feeling that if he splits his Marines up like this, it's not going to work so well, and MarineKingPrime's looking in very, very good position. You have to remember, though, that +1 will make a big difference here. With combat shields, the tanks are so far back, though, which allows Puma to pull everything together now, and I really did like MarineKingPrime killing the reactors to slow this down, but this is getting real... Oh, no! If it wasn't difficult enough...
Oh, man. Yeah, this is now a bit nightmarish for MarineKingPrime. He needs the tanks in really good positions in order to make this work. Puma did get supply blocked, which is actually going to hold him back quite a bit. He may force the supply drop here, or indeed just go for it, and he's got enough to gun his way through this. He really, really does. But he didn't push forward enough, and he let the tanks live.
Yeah, that was actually not so good from Puma. It actually took a lot more damage than necessary. There was a lot of Marines buffering, and all of a sudden tables have been turned now, and this is actually game over.
It looks like it. Yeah, the SCVs are looking to heroically take out the tanks. They'll take out 2, certainly, but everything else will die. And Puma should have had that defense. He really should have. He threw that away. He had what he needed to make it happen. The Banshees went down. The Stim was good, and then he just ate the tank shots. Didn't take the tanks down. And in that situation, with shields, he could have very easily cleaned it up after the tanks were dead. He decided not to, and it was to his cost. GG. MarineKingPrime takes it, and is looking really solid in his group now with a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, that's really, really nice. So he's up there now with Boxer at a 2-0, and looking good.
Very, very true.
Yeah. I mean, just looking over at the group, I mean, that means that we will... I mean, Boxer and MarineKingPrime have to play on Sunday. So, depending on, of course, they still have another game before that. MarineKingPrime versus Ret on Sunday, Boxer versus Puma on Sunday. But if they both win that, that would actually be the decider for first and second place.
The Boxer versus the Foxer. Which will triumph? One has to wonder. We'll find out, certainly. But a good series there for MarineKingPrime. Kind of getting lucky quite a bit, I have to say. But then again, sort of so did Puma as well. So it was a bit of a funky series. It was unusual, to say the least. And Puma certainly could have had that hold, I feel. And he just didn't manage it. He ate so many tank shots in those siege tanks, had so many kills on them by the end of that, and everything was in Puma's favor. +1, shield, and stim. There was no reason to buffer all that tank damage. He should have gone straight for the tanks and then gone for the cleanup. It would have worked so much better. But there you go. That is the win for Marine King, and Puma takes another loss, which makes things look very, very bleak for EG's hero in this particular group. We shall see. Will he be able to come back from that? It's going to be difficult, certainly an uphill struggle, because, of course, his last battle will be up against the Emperor himself. Not an easy one. Not at all. We'll be right back, folks, with the second series in this Wednesday show, right after this. Don't go anywhere.